All right, everyone, welcome back to the Be Healthy and Thrive podcast. I am so excited that you're here. I am Brianna Wilkerson, your host, holistic health and life coach, and essential oils advocate. And today I have with me Samantha Salmon, who is just awesome, and another fellow health coach that went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And she's here today to talk to you about something that I truly believe many people are kind of going towards, vegans, raw food, and just her story and how she leads her clients and tribe through that. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Yes. So maybe just introduce yourself to us and then feel free to start sharing your story around your journey with health and wellness and what brought you to the point that being a coach in the raw vegan area.
Yes, so my name is Samantha Salmon, and I was born and raised in Queens, New York, to Jamaican parents. And basically, my story, it's a very long one, and I talk about it extensively in my book, You Can Afford to Be Healthy. But the short version is my grandma was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and that happened very early on. I was young. I was probably like in primary school, in grade school. And so it impacted the entire family because she lived with us. So as soon as she was diagnosed, my mom, went to the doctor with her, talked to the nutritionist, and she was put on a plan. And since my mom made the food for everyone, we all went on this plan. So at that young age, I was learning about, brown rice over white rice, that was the whole thing at the time. Minimizing refined carbs. According to the American Diabetes Association, meat is okay, dairy is okay, because she was definitely having cereal, having boxed orange juice, all that stuff, fine. So we were doing this thing, and I was like her little nurse. I was, making sure that she took her meds on time, and there was like 20 medicines that she had to take, and which is a lot. So it wasn't, when people are dealing with type 2 diabetes, it's not just the diabetes. Diabetes usually comes with a series of stuff. So she had a heart condition, she had a thyroid issue, all of these things she was, dealing with. So like I would have to, not go out with certain friends and stay home because she had to have someone with her to give her meds and make sure she ate, at certain times because she had that timeline with her medicine. But all of the effort that we put in, following all of this protocol that the nutritionist set out for her and the doctor, it helped to keep her around for as long as she was around. But my first year of college, around Thanksgiving, she passed away on hospice care. So hospice, for those of you who don't know, is when you're basically in a period where the doctor has given up and you're dying, basically. So she was home in our living room on a gurney, and all the family was around, and slowly organs were just failing one by one by one. And I remember what triggered it. It was like she was taking the pills, and we had her on this diet or whatever, and which is still, in my opinion, the standard American diet. Okay. But we'll get there. So she's on this diet. Then eventually, her big toe turned black. And that was like, when I saw that, my heart sank, because look, that's the one thing you definitely don't want to see. Best case scenario, you have an amputation. Worst case is what happened to my grandmother. The toe turned black. She ended up in the hospital, and 2 weeks later, she was gone. So it happened very quickly. And right before her toe turned black, she was graduated to those long insulin needles that you have to put in your stomach, which, like, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And I don't know if it's because of my grandma's experience, but I cannot do pills and I cannot do needles. Like, I just have a phobia with it all. I even have a phobia for hospitals. I remember because she had to go into the hospital many times. You know, when you're dealing with someone with type 2 diabetes, I mean, there's so many runs and 911 calls. But one time in particular, I remember the nurses, I guess they had to put some kind of butterfly needle in her vein to get her blood or whatever. But they put it in wrong. Actually, I don't know if, no, they must have been injecting something in, but they put it in wrong. It wasn't in her vein. It was like under the skin. And so by the time we saw her, her arm had swollen up so much because there was fluid in there because, you know, they made a mistake. And it's like when it's a loved one, you're like, you don't get to make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? This is my grandmother, right? And she's been with me like my entire life. Like she's like, you know, my second mom. You know what I'm saying? So it was a huge traumatic loss. It like tore my heart out. Like I had to do lots of therapy to get to a place. When I decided to become a coach, I knew I was going to talk about her story a lot. I knew I wanted to help people who were in the position she was in when she first got diagnosed or right before she got diagnosed, to kind of resolve what's happening there mentally and environmentally, that led down this path, you know, because it didn't just affect my grandma. Like my grandma's not living anymore, so she's not struggling anymore. But the family, I feel, has suffered. I know I suffered because I went through this traumatic event, but she had 8 children. I have a huge family. So it's like the experience of her death, her dying in the living room and hearing her suffer, and then how the family responded, and how our family really has not been the same since her passing. So it was just a very pivotal, traumatic experience in my life. So anyway, college, I graduated, right? So she passed my first year of college. I graduated, got married, and I married a man who grew up on a farm. So he's into herbs and, you know, healthy living and all that stuff. And we ended up going vegan together. And at that time when he actually introduced me to veganism, because he went vegan like about a couple weeks before me. And he was learning a whole bunch of stuff. And I found out about Dr. Neal Barnard, who has a program for reversing diabetes. And he has many books, but this book in particular, Dr. Neal Barnard's program for reversing diabetes, that's the title of the book. He talks about what causes diabetes and how he's helped tons of people reverse type 2 diabetes, right? And there's even some information out there right now about possible reversal of type 1 diabetes. But he talks about in the book about the cause, at least, of type 1 and where that's coming from and all of that. And he basically attributes that to saturated fat. What he says is that the reason why the blood sugar is so high is because, you know, there's saturated fat in the cells, and therefore insulin is not able to insulin is not able to get in to usher the sugar into the cell, which is the natural process. Every time we eat, our blood sugar goes up, insulin is released to usher in that sugar into the cells. So anyway, yeah, so I found this. It was like, wow, this is the information that I needed when my grandma was alive, because I was tending to her. You know, I could have made a difference because I was very involved, you know. So there was a lot of that going on in my head, like, man, if I had only known, you know. And so anyway, I changed my life. My husband changed his diet. Since then, our families have changed their diet and have overcome health issues. And we opened a juice bar together in 2010 in Chicago. It's now closed. We had that running for 7 years, had 2 locations in Chicago and downtown Chicago. And it was a raw vegan organic spot, juice bar, juices, smoothies, raw vegan entrees and desserts. Because, you know, raw veganism was a huge part of our introduction into veganism. Because at the time we were in the Bay Area when we first got into this whole thing. And then you have Cafe Gratitude and all that. So we were really into this thing. So we wanted to share that with people. So we opened the store. We offered herbs. We made our own herbal teas and sold activated charcoal before it was trendy, you know, so moringa before people knew what it was, you know. Yeah, so like right before we closed it, I decided to join IIN, which is how I know Brianna. And yeah, became a certified health coach. And here I am now, certified health coach, author, you know, working with clients, helping them get off their diabetes medication. And it feels good to help people, and to make a difference. But there's a lot more I need to do, like the impact I want to make, because there's a lot of different reasons why someone ends up in the situation my grandma ended up in. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
We can wrap it up. No, I mean, that's such a beautiful, I think we all have a story that why we feel so passionate about changing people's lives and health in some way. And yeah, your grandma is definitely a huge, huge part of that. And so with the people that you work with, who do you tend to work with? Do you work with more people who have diabetes or at risk, or like say if someone's listening and saying, oh, wow, I really resonate, you know, who is your ideal person that you tend to work with?
Yeah, so ideal is a funny word, because they're the people who are very much attracted to my program. And then they're the people who my heart is like, this group, I really want to help. So it's hard to even answer that ideal question. But I have in my client base right now, people who came to me, they were on diabetes medication. They're no longer, but they still have weight loss goals they want to achieve. And so we're continuing our journey together. I have, people who have menstrual issues, and they already are interested in veganism and they want to lose weight. Most of my clients, they want to lose weight, but there's usually something that is really pushing them to make a change, because losing weight is very superficial. And if you're in a place where you're going to spend the money to hire a coach, because that's a huge commitment, right? Financially, and you have to be accountable to someone. Like, you literally have to show up, meet with me, and tell me that you actually did the things that we talked about last session. So to make that kind of commitment, usually people are like, have a pressing issue. They were used to taking certain types of medication for stuff, but now they're allergic to the medication, or they had a change of heart about medication, so now they really want to do it the healthy way. Maybe they had a cancer scare or went through a cancer situation, and they want to make sure that they don't end up in remission. So it's a variety of things, but the majority of them are weight loss is at play.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
And so if someone was listening and is either a vegan or wants to start that, what would you say is what should they do? Like, how do they start this process, and why should they consider veganism?
Well, I think that you should consider veganism because I wrote a whole extensive article on it, and I know people are gonna be like, there with nutrition, it's almost like religion, right? People are very strong about what they believe, and it's like, oh, but the research is very clear that physically, and this is what attracted me to veganism in the beginning first, because I I changed my diet to eat plant-based before I even found out about Dr. Neal Barnard's program. And I have never been diagnosed with diabetes, right? But what made sense to me, the first thing that made sense, why I decided to make the change for myself was this, I think it was an anthropologist, honestly. And I wish, had I known I would be here at this point doing what I'm doing now, I would have saved that video, but I didn't. It was this guy who was doing a lecture at a university, and it was a YouTube video I was watching of him talking about the differences in physiology between humans and carnivores. And the main points, like the book 80-10-10 by Dr. Doug Graham, great book, he has a very extensive list showing the differences. But the main points that really stuck out to me was the length of the intestines. And I've lost, family friends from stomach cancer, right? The length of our intestines is long, as opposed to a carnivore, which is short. So it makes sense to me. When a carnivore consumes meat, it's in and it's out. When we have long intestines and we consume meat, it's coming in, it has to go through this winding thing. And so it gets stuck in areas, it calcifies, and we start having issues, digestive issues, gut issues, and worst case scenario, cancers and tumors and stuff develop. Now, there are some people who can circumvent this by minimizing their meat intake, right? And having lots and lots of vegetables. But Americans, we are not eating sufficient amounts of vegetables, so that's part of the problem too. But so anyway, the reason why people should be interested in veganism is, one, our bodies are just not made to be consuming meat. Two, we don't have the enzymes to digest dairy, which is why so many people are having issues with dairy. And if you read Dr. Neal Barnard's program for reversing diabetes, Dr. Doug Graham's 80-10-10 book, I also have book recommendations in the resources section of my book. And also talk about it extensively on the blog. All the reasons why to explore, experiment with your body and see what it can do for you. Now, I'm not really encouraging any type of veganism, because veganism for veganism's sake is not really what I'm into. Like, I did not enter it because of love of the animals, right? I entered it from a health perspective and a science perspective. It logically makes sense to me. Now, with that, since I'm coming from a health perspective, it's very important to, like I said, eat as many fruits and vegetables as possible. When I first went vegan, I hated vegetables. So I just had a lot of almond butter and jelly sandwiches. And lots of pasta, lots of bread, right? So I actually blew up to the heaviest I had ever been, which was like 140 pounds. And I'm 5'3", so I really was comfortable. I was swole, basically. And not the good swole, like muscular. So I was like swollen, and that was because I didn't like vegetables. So my saving grace was learning about green smoothies. That's how I was able to get in the green vegetables and have it taste good, because I like fruit. So that worked for me. So that's really what I would recommend for people who are interested in it. Like, find where you enjoy. I know some people really like vegetables, so maybe that's something where it would be your entry point. Just eating more of fruits and vegetables that you like, eating less of the animal products, and just observing how your body is responding to those changes.
So simple, yet so powerful, right? Like, it's just just eat more fruits and vegetables. People are like, but give me like a 4-step plan. You're like, no, just straight, and it's nothing like sexy about it, but yet it can really transform your health and your life, right?
Right.
And so I love your recommendation there. And so I know you have a freebie that you kind of have around this. Obviously your blog, you have your podcast. So maybe tell us a little bit about your freebie that you have, and then we can talk more about your social media and your podcast.
Yes. So I have a 30-day raw vegan challenge. During the last Lenten period, me and my Facebook group, we have a Facebook group called the Raw Food Health Empowerment Circle. We went through this 30-day challenge, and it's basically everything you could ever need to or want to know about raw veganism, that raw vegan lifestyle. And what that means basically is you're eating 100% raw for 30 days. And we go into what you can eat, like different recipes you can make, what's considered raw, why you would want to be raw, how to lose weight, and how to gain weight. Because some people actually come to me to gain weight, and they're like, what? Like, why would you come to me? You know, I'm never really trying to gain weight.
Yeah.
Like I've gained weight now, and I'm trying to maintain that weight by turning my fat into muscle mass. So this is the next step of my personal journey, is to, like, Serena Williams is like is body goals for me, you know? So I'm doing that now. But yeah, you can gain weight on a raw vegan diet. You can lose weight on a raw vegan diet. I got down to the smallest I had ever been at 115 on a raw vegan diet. And that was fun to experience that, like what I look like and what I feel like at that weight. And all the new clothes that I was able to buy and stuff. That was pretty fun. But yeah, so there's a lot of information there. You won't really need to go anywhere else for raw vegan information.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, so I'll make sure to link that. So guys, make sure you check out the show notes. And so tell us a little bit, if people are like, I just want to like learn more from her, be a part of her tribe community, where people can find you on social media, and tell us about your podcast as well.
Yeah, so I'm Raw Food Meal Planner everywhere except Twitter. It's Raw Food Meal Plan. And my website, rawfoodmealplanner.com. My podcast is the Raw Food Health Empowerment Podcast, which I host with my mom. And it's basically exploring health and wellness from a multinational and multi-generational perspective, right? My mom is a baby boomer, and she was born and raised in Jamaica, West Indies. And so her experience is very different than mine, being born and raised in Queens and being Generation Y, I think I am. So we talk about lots of things. We've been talking a lot lately on the blog about finances and how to make. So basically, this book has everything you need to prioritize your health, right? I go into how to lose weight if that's your plan, how to eat healthy and make it fit into your busy schedule, and how to make it fit into your budget, right? As long as you're above the poverty line, which I talk about in here, you can do this, right? And so we take it a step further on the podcast, just encouraging people to continue to make room in their budget for self-care, right? So once you have the eating down and stuff, there are other things that you really need to pay attention to make sure that stress is not working against your health goals, because it can. And also making sure that all areas of your life are healthy, right? So like Brianna and I, we went to IIN, and they talk about primary foods. So primary foods are all the things in life that feed you on an emotional level. And I know from my community, the people who are interested in being healthy, they complain a lot that, you know, their finances aren't where it needs to be for them to really take care of themselves the way they need to be. So we really spend a lot of time talking about that.
So good. You have so much good information for those who are just thinking about veganism, thinking about raw food. So as we wrap up, is there any like thing you want to share, like a big tip or big encouragement, like people have listened to this, you know, what is it that you want them to leave with right now?
Yeah, I guess the big thing is just have fun with it. Don't stress yourself out. Just explore and experiment. You know, this has really been a journey for me. And, you know, where I'm at right now, is not where I used to be. So as you start and experiment and see how your body responds, you will make the proper adjustments for you. So just trust yourself, trust your intuition. And once you continue to practice that self-care, everything falls in line. And what you learn with getting your food situation together, your fitness and your health, can help you with your finances and with other areas of your life, because you basically learn in this process how to prioritize yourself and really get organized.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. So thank you so much for joining us. It's so great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, and everyone, just wanted to let you know, I nearly forgot. Samantha is a part of the Healthy Body Summit that I'm co-hosting with Anya Perry from August 20th to 26th. And so if you are listening to this before then, hopefully make sure you join up for this summit. She'll be sharing more about, particular about all of this, as well as you have other people who will be talking about nutrition, exercise, stress, sleep, digestion, toxic load, mindset. So definitely check out the link for that as well. So thank you again.
Thanks.
Bye.